Okay, hello, good afternoon. Welcome to this special session focused on the food and drink sector and what the future holds. We have three franchisors here, three experts in the sector, three leaders in the sector. So I can see participants coming in. Thank you for joining this session. We have a bunch of questions here that I'm going to ask on your behalf, and you're free to put in questions if you want, but my advice is after we finish this session, you head on back to the exhibition hall and you speak directly with the franchisors that are going to be giving advice and answers to my questions over the next 30 minutes. So I just want to start off by saying thanks for joining us, gentlemen. We're looking forward to getting your pearls of wisdom. So can you just start off by introducing yourself, your franchise, and the sort of people that you're looking to join and invest into your franchise, into your brand. So Philip, would you like to start us off?
Yes, sure. Thank you, Nick. So Philippe Seigle, I'm the business unit manager for international markets at Leonidas. That's the preferred Belgian chocolates. And we are working with a network worldwide of 1,300 stores across 42 markets, and among others, of course, the UK and Ireland.
Excellent, excellent. So Aidan, what about yourself? Your brand, and who you're looking for, the sort of people you want to join your franchise?
Sure. I'm Aidan Keegan. I'm CEO at Esquires Coffee in the UK. We are a global brand, but my responsibility is for the UK aspect of that brand. We have just short of 50 stores in the UK at the moment, and what we're looking for really is self-starters who are willing to put their heart and soul into their own business to help grow it. By far and away, the most successful people that we have in the network are those that put themselves into it. It's a far more important criteria than money, for example.
Right, yeah, investing oneself, not just the cash. So Brody, what about yourself? Your brand, yourself?
Yeah, I'm the founder of a brand called Camile Thai Kitchen. We've about 42 sites between the UK and Ireland. We're primarily located in the southeast of England and Ireland, and we're an online delivery brand. We do about 80% of our business off premises, so and most of that's delivered to customers' homes, and we are expanding rapidly inside the M25 and looking for owner operators who want to get involved in the business, and a bit like Aidan. Yeah, we're not really looking for investor type franchisees. We're looking for somebody who can come up with a minimum of £100,000 in liquid capital and wants to get involved as an owner. A lot of our franchisees now are multi-unit operators. Our biggest one currently has 8 restaurants. So I think the starting point is you work in the business, but we're looking for people who ultimately want to work on the business and manage a large team and expand with us.
Okay, excellent. So Brody, if I can just start with yourself, we might as well get into the tough question, I think, to start with, and that's really thinking about the last 18 months. It's been a time of upheaval for everyone. Obviously, anyone that's watching this that is thinking about investing into a franchise, food and beverage, they may be excited about the sector and excited about looking at options, but also with kind of a head over the shoulder thinking about how have you got on, how have you as a franchisor and your franchisees got on over this time of disruption. So and what kind of support have you been given, it's been like as a landscape?
So Nick, we've been very lucky as a business. Prior to the pandemic, we were doing 70% of our business off premises, and most of our restaurants are located in residential suburbs with virtually nothing in high footfall locations like shopping centres or central business districts. So we've had a really good pandemic, and so the like any hospitality business, we've had to try and make an environment safe for our staff with all these perspex screens, with not allowing people onto the premises, with the 20-minute wash downs. We had at the start last March, we very windy staff, very windy customers, and we made the decision to stay open, and we did, and and it's been good for us. We know the wider industry's had a terrible time, so we have been incredibly fortunate. We've been incredibly fortunate with that. So we've had a lot of things to do with, like the hygiene stuff, but also, you know, supplies being disrupted. So our inputs, you know, in particular in the last few months, it's been incredibly difficult, whether it's through Brexit difficulties or ships getting stuck in the Suez Canal. We've had a lot of practical issues around that, and of course a shortage of staff now, again Brexit related, I think, in London. But also, you know, everybody reopening at the same time. A lot of people have moved on out of the industry. So we've been lucky because most of our support has been kind of in a positive way. We haven't had to deal with restaurants being shut or people not being able to earn a living, or indeed we, you know, having to renegotiate rents. So as I say, it was just, you know, we could have easily have, you know, been in a business where we were opening in shopping centres and we're really stuck, and we weren't. We just pure luck.
So yeah, like many businesses, some are lucky, some are not. But one thing that I took out from that was the support, the quickness of adapting for systems, and also working as a group rather than just on your own gave more strength and depth to what you're doing. Aidan, I imagine it's been a challenging time for yourself and your franchisees. What franchisees what challenges have had that they had to come, and how have you been able to support them?
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, we're sort of a little bit the opposite of Brody in that sense. You know, we were very much high street, a bit of CBD, and then some suburban units where we were pretty much wholly dependent on the walk-in customer. So as of March last year, that all stopped, and probably stopped for about a quarter. What we did in terms of support was I personally took on the landlord negotiations, which went reasonably well with a couple of exceptions. I also stopped royalty until I felt people were back up off their knees and on their feet. So we went back on a graduated royalty system. We didn't charge any royalty until August, 50% beyond that, and sort of reintroduced it then at a later date in order to allow people take the benefit of the eat out, help out, and the reduced VAT system. So yeah, I mean, look, we've had a lot of difficulties, and I can also reflect on some of the points Brody made. What's challenging us now is not something that we can necessarily help from head office. Is basically the availability of staff as we all re-emerge together is a serious challenge. But yeah, I mean, the flip side of that is through those summer months, once we were allowed reopen, our figures were pretty robust. We traded at 19% ahead of 2019 from July through to October. So that's given us some positive feelings going into this reemergence at this point. So yeah, we're reasonably confident, and if we can, you know, maintain the negotiation skills with landlords, etc., and you know, follow through on some of the deferrals, etc., you know, we're in pretty good shape at this point. A lot better than I would have said this time last year.
Yeah,
or could have predicted.
Well, again, what I'm taking from that is that the franchisor is using their strength in negotiation to support franchisees through thick and thin, just to make sure that, I mean, normally we'd be talking about growth and fantastic figures and a fantastic opportunity, but even in times of challenge, being a franchisee, it seems from what you're saying, is it being in a much stronger position than if you're on your own. Well, you've got the power of that brand behind you.
Well, indeed, you may only have a single store, but we may have a relationship with your landlord that harnesses 4 or 5 stores across their network. That allows us to sort of negotiate en masse and, you know, come to a conclusion that's suitable to both parties, or 4 or 5 parties, or whatever we may have involved. But certainly, you know, we also have a legal team. Like we have that backup and support in terms of head office and our you know, our service partners that can lend the support, and maybe we can be a little colder as well. You know, maybe we can in terms of those negotiations and see the wood for the trees.
So there's really strength and depth in trading and support way beyond just getting premises and
Absolutely.
actually serving those drinks. So it's part of that strength of being part of a franchise brand. So Philippe, you've I imagine you've had a lot of similar sort of challenges, but let's have a think now about going forward. What are you looking forward to? What are your franchisees looking forward to as things are opening up? What are you expecting to happen for your franchisees and people coming into the franchise in this year?
Yeah, I think that they mainly have to adapt to the new environment. That's the most important thing. New environment means that you must be looking for new way of reaching consumers, being through social media, being through e-commerce. But the rise of e-commerce is something which is well known, which was a trend we had before the crisis. Because as I used to say, we made a kind of quantic jump into the future. And now e-commerce is just like mainstream. So primarily the idea here was also to find a way for having each franchisee benefiting from e-commerce without competing with each other. That was the most important thing, the way of managing this business. One of the solutions we proposed was to host some subdomains for our franchisees on our corporate website. But when you have consumer coming on our website, they are redirected to the franchisee's website so that they can benefit from this new flow of consumers. That was one thing.
So really, you've been So really, you've been working with franchisees again as a franchisor with that sort of head office strength and flexibility to think about, okay, we want to sell to people on the high street, but we recognize a change in consumer behavior, and we want to build a sustainable structure for our franchisees to benefit from. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. I think that's the key word is here to go omni-channel. So not only going offline or online, but a combination of both. And of course, for many franchisees, that's a new way of working. Here in chocolate, it's mainly gifting. People used to come to select their chocolates in our bulk counter. So now it was really making something online and getting home delivery, not even click and mortar, but really getting home delivery. And that was a big change for our network because they used to have this direct contact with all of our consumers.
Right.
Another we had to adapt to be flexible, more flexible way was partnering also with some other franchising companies, like in ice cream and tea shops, what we did in Canada and in Germany. And that was a way of both benefiting from the strength of the other network. Like in Canada, we are having bulk counters in ice cream shops so that ice cream makers, usually wintertime is not a very good period for them, but they can now compensate with some chocolate sales.
Okay, so really you're trying to build as much flexibility and revenue potential by working with partners online as well as having your own stores for people to walk into. So thinking about maximizing revenue and using that brand and power of the brand to help your trading franchisees. Okay, so that's really coming across to me strongly, that whether the market's buoyant or being challenged, the strength of the brand and the flexibility and knowledge of the franchisor can help people trade more quickly and more effectively and more flexibly than if they were trying to do anything in this sector on their own. Brody, when it comes to someone thinking about becoming a franchisee, two questions. Do they need to have experience in the sector? And what qualities do you think they need to bring in order to be successful?
Yeah, it's a good question, Nick. It's not simple. It's not a simple answer. I kind of feel that people, are inherently have good business skills, but sometimes they've never practiced it before because they've been in a job. And so just because you've got a good CV or a strong track record in a particular business doesn't necessarily mean you're a good business person. So I'd say it's very much up in the air. We've a bunch of new franchisees opening businesses at the moment. A number of them are from our existing franchisee estates that are opening further outlets. And they're much easier from a franchisor's point of view to open up because they know what they're doing. But we've an equal number of first-time business owners who are not coming from a hospitality background. And our thinking is that they're, inherently good business people, even if they've never had the chance to practice, that before. So what we look for is, in our type of business, and I think it's probably the same for Philippe and Aidan, is, we're in a people business. So we serve, individual customers. There's small transactions, there's thousands of them. You need to like people. And there are some people we meet who are, clearly very happy behind a computer screen, and you wouldn't let them loose in front of real life customers. So they're probably not suitable. But also in our business, you're looking at running a team of 20, 25 people out of a Camile restaurant. I always believe that people, you get good service from happy staff are managed well, and somebody has that skills. And again, even if they've never done it before, but they're inherently good with people. Obviously, to be disciplined, because there are so many moving parts in our types of business. They need to be incredibly disciplined around cash and how they manage that, and watching the financial performance of the business. So, in our case, we run weekly profit and loss accounts, to make sure that, if we're having problems in the business, we're identifying the problems early, and also that that a franchisee is prepared to do whatever it takes to make the business successful. So we have a business system, but it doesn't always go the way we think. One of the practical sides of that is that, I've never seen a business plan prepared that worked out exactly as the business plan said. We always do better than we think, or we do worse than we think, but we never do what we think. So a franchisee's ability to respond to it not working out exactly as planned, that's a really key determinant. So if somebody is going to sit in the back of the restaurant waiting for us to ride to the rescue, that's not a good situation for us. So we want somebody who's prepared to do whatever it takes to make the business successful. And often for people, that means taking them outside their comfort zone. So knocking on doors and dealing with rejection, that's hard. It's not for everybody. But in our business, if you want to build a successful business, there's an element of that in it. Working incredibly hard. I mean, 60, 70-hour weeks are not unusual at the start of the process, and having the resilience when things are tough, and they often are, starting a new business, and having the resilience to see the wood from the trees, and to work through the difficulties to get you through to the other side. And that's really about being prepared to do whatever it takes, because if you're going to invest that kind of money into a business, you owe it to yourself to make sure you protect that money by being prepared to do whatever it takes to get the business off the ground.
So although you're taking on a proven brand and system, it's not just going to fall into your lap out of the sky. Now there's a lot required. So Aidan, I'm thinking here, so when it comes to Esquires, what are you looking for in terms of the qualities? We've spoken about what you bring as a franchisor for the franchisee, that brand, those systems, standing with the franchisee and working with them in challenging times and in great times. What do you look for them to bring to give you confidence that they're going to fly and be successful as a franchisee? Because you want successful people.
Well, absolutely, Nick. I mean, a franchisee doing their own due diligence will either with, having asked or not having asked, ought to visit, the franchise that they're looking for. So first and foremost, your franchisees become your advocates. So in order to ensure that those that they are indeed advocates, we need to ensure that they're making money and that everything is working as it should be. So when you step back from that, then, and it's about choosing franchisees. I agree with Brody. I mean, people buy people at the end of the day. Ours is a front-facing business where you've got to interact with your customer, you've got to interact with your staff. The happier they are, the more interactive they are with customers, the more likely you are to retain your customers as a franchisee. And I think it's a huge part of it. But I also think that nobody will do for you what you'll do for yourself. So those 60, 70-hour weeks, that manager who called in sick on a shift that you've got to do, you know, we've got to be able to see that in you when we meet you. You know, we've got to believe you're going to carry our brand forward, but you've got to be willing to do it for yourself, first of all. You're becoming self-employed. You need to understand what that means, I guess, and be prepared for the hard graft that will inevitably come. That might ruin it possibly in Brody's situation, it might ruin your Saturday evening. With us, you get the benefit. It can only really ruin your lunch. You know, you'll be home in the evening. It'll be fine. But you've got to be prepared to adapt to what happens around you. And you know, one of the guys in operations that works for me has a great saying that it's a funny business. This, you know, we sell lunch, but you can't plan yours. You know, it's because something will inevitably happen. So yeah. I think that's it. I think people buy people. I think, you know, in a face-to-face meeting with a potential franchisee, you can pretty much tell reasonably quickly, and hopefully they can back it up. Yeah, I mean, just by way of example, I have two here where we had poorly performing stores and that changed hands, and within 2 months, both of them were doing triple the business, and that is by no means an exaggeration, and that is purely operator driven. Purely.
So enthusiasm and application of the systems and real commitment to that work ethic. There it seems like that's the transformational part that the franchisee brings.
Absolutely.
The systems don't work themselves, do they?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, but those are really important points. I think, especially if someone has more of an investor mindset, if they're thinking put the money in and sit back, then they need to think very carefully, don't they? It's about a whole body, mind, and soul commitment from what you're saying.
Yeah, I think, Nick, just to expand upon that a little bit, I think that can work in the medium to long term, but I think you've got to commit to an initial store. In order to have that investor mentality, you probably need multiple stores, and in that way you can step back and have an umbrella view. But the only way you'll understand what's happening is if you've done it. And
yeah,
that means that.
Right. So, Philip, what are your thoughts on the ideal franchisee? Obviously, you spoke about multiple strands of opportunity, the store, the partnership store, the development of the online strategy. So that's what you're bringing. What do you really look for from a franchisee, a franchise owner that comes into your brand?
The core value is passion, because passion of being an entrepreneur, then you can go beyond the hurdles. You will be resilient. You will adapt yourself, because then your business is becoming part of your life. And if you're passionate by what you do, by what you want to achieve, also you will overcome these potential hurdles. You will find a way. That's the most important thing. And to maybe to repeat a bit what the other colleagues have said, if you come with an investor mindset, when you start having this type of issues, if you are not here in the evening to prepare the orders for the next day until 8 p.m., it will be challenging. If you are here and you say, okay, it's extra hour, but it's part of my job, it's my business, then you will do it, and it's how you will also overcome the crisis.
Excellent. So you get out of it what you put into it. It's about really investing yourself into it. So perhaps just final question. I think we've got time for this, Brody. In terms of this leads into it, tell us about your most successful franchisee. You know, can you think of their background and how they came in and what they're achieving?
It's really interesting for us, because about half of our franchisees started working with us from within the business. So they worked with us in some cases as drivers, as restaurant managers, operations managers, understood the business really well, and then took the plunge into business ownership themselves. And they are super franchisees because they really know what they're getting involved in, and they know the business, and we know them. we know them very well. So that's about half of our franchisees, and our biggest one is a guy called Pramod Tankapon. He's an Indian guy who started working with me as a restaurant manager, then became an operations manager, and about 5 years ago, we lent him the money to buy his first franchise from us, which was an existing store, and he's just opened his 8th and he's fitting out his 9th and 10th, and he's a millionaire. He's created substantial wealth out of running our business, and we're absolutely, we're so proud of him, and we're so happy that he's been successful. So I'd say he's probably making more money than I am at the moment, and I'm fine with that because I'm going to catch up. I'll pass him out. But right now,
that's your ambition, catch up with your franchisee.
But I mean, I'm really, genuinely, we're really proud of his success, and he's a great ambassador for the brand. You know, another guy we have called Abraham. He's got 5 restaurants. He started with us as a driver, a young accounting student. Started as a driver. He's got 5 restaurants. He's opening a 6th and 7th. Super guy.
So these are guys that were basically living on a reasonable salary, but now they're earning. They've transformed their lives. What about
they're creating wealth because they're building assets. They're building real assets. So over and above the value of the investment in the restaurant, it has a premium value now because they're performing well. We also have franchisees from who didn't.
I'm going to have to move on, Brody.
Oh, come on. I'm only getting warmed up.
No, listen, you got to give someone else a chance. Well, I believe it sounds great, but Aidan, what about yourself? Your most successful franchisee, because that's an amazing story about from salary to real wealth. What about yourself?
Yeah, to be honest, in this format, and having been through the year that we've been through, I wouldn't like to single anyone out, but we do have a number of successful and repeat and multiple franchisees within the business. I think the people that I would laud the most are those that adapted, came to us looking for X, Y, and Z in terms of menu changes to adapt over the last year. We had about 3 stores that opened either just pre-COVID or, believe it or not, during COVID. And these guys have put their heart and soul into this business and survived, having made the investment they have. And while they may not be, in terms of pounds and pennies, the most successful people so far, I believe they have everything it takes to become that. Having shown the resilience to come through the year that they have. So like there are a couple of guys who've taken a couple of stores around the Aylesbury region. We have a franchisee in Horsham, franchisee in Caerphilly, who really put their shoulder to the stone over the last year, and I'm absolutely sure that they'll reap the benefits of that in the years to come.
Fantastic. Yeah. Philippe, and what are your thoughts? Your most successful franchisee. Give us their story quickly. We've got about a minute left, I think.
In a nutshell, I would take the example of our franchisee in Kensington High Street. So he opened his store. It was very small, tiny kiosk, actually, in 2005. He managed also to survive the competition. So our 2 main competitors in the UK, Hotel Chocolat and Godiva. And when he got the opportunity to move to another location, but just 50 meters from where he was, he moved in. We helped in financing also the move with newer bell counter, furniture, etc. And now within a 2-year time, despite of the crisis, he tripled his turnover. So it makes it a matter of being resilient, being patient, wait for the good opportunity, and we just have a match and we have to support it.
Okay, fantastic. Well, what I'm going to do is I've got 1 or 2 questions that unfortunately I don't have time for, but what I'm going to say is the best thing for people watching and participating in this session is when we finished to go back to the exhibition hall and go and speak to these guys one-on-one, either through text or through video chat. So go and visit them on their stands in the exhibition hall. So Philip, just remind us name of your brand, please, because it's not behind you. So what's the name of the brand?
It's Leonidas, the preferred Belgian chocolates.
Fantastic. Nathan?
Esquires coffee in UK. Yeah.
Fantastic. And Brody? Oh, Brody, I think you're frozen out there. But I can tell you...
Camile Thai Kitchen, we're an online delivery restaurant brand.
Fantastic. Okay, well, that brings us to the end of our half hour. Some real insight there from some leading franchisors in the sector. So for everyone watching, please head on over to their stands now and continue the conversation. So thank you all. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, Nick.
Have a great afternoon.
Thanks so much.
Okay.
Right. Thanks very much,
Bye
guys.
for now.
Cheers. Bye now.
Bye.